Hey everyone, welcome back to Homegrown Handmade. I'm Allison, and today we are at my community garden plots. As of yesterday, I officially have 2 community garden plots. They are 4 by 8 foot beds, and I checked them out last night. They're kind of a mess, so I thought I'd bring you along with me to clean up these beds, get them going, get them ready for the spring season. Right now it's December the 31st, and we are having an unusually warm winter this winter here in Texas. So taking advantage of that. It's beautiful. It's about 70 degrees outside today, and getting these beds, the big thing is adding nutrition into the soil that's essentially dust. So let me show you what we're working with, and then we'll get started. Okay, so here's the first bed. As you can see, it's just a ton of weeds and stuff right now, so I'm going to get pulling all of these out today. And then the other bed over here, this one actually looks like somebody has taken care of it more recently. And so if we don't get through with this bed today, we're probably not going to touch the other one, only because I really don't want to be taking over somebody's bed if they're planning to use it. So I'm going to get you all set up and we're going to get started. So one of the things I was really hoping to show you all today is the soil, and it's kind of hard to see, but if I get right here, you can see it's basically just dust. And so that's why I'm going to be focusing on trying to put some new soil in. I bought some compost, some potting soil, and then some worm castings. And I'm going to try to get all of that mixed together and on the beds, and then we're gonna get them covered with some wood chips, not today, but tomorrow. Ideally, I would have had it today, but I don't have the chips yet. So we'll get that done tomorrow. So hopefully getting all of that stuff onto these beds is gonna really help to build some soil and add some nutrition in so that I can actually get some yields this coming spring. Okay, so cleaning out these beds, I noticed that these looked an awful lot like carrots, and believe it or not, if I can get these bad boys out of here, they are. So it's better than anything I've ever grown. Kind of an exciting thing to find here. It's better than any carrot that I've ever grown. You can see that this one is about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 inches long. So I'll be taking these home with me tonight. I'm gonna have some fun with this. This is gonna be a really cool experience to be able to grow a garden outdoors with real sunlight. Okay, so this is what the bed's looking like so far now that I've gotten it cleaned up. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in. You can see my wheelbarrow over here. I've got that full of some soil and some compost. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that going. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here, and I bought 2 bags of this Happy Frog brand. I don't know if you can see it, this potting soil. This stuff is awesome. This brand is amazing. I use their fertilizer. I have a blueberry bush at home, and the blueberry bushes need a lot of acidity, and actually they have like an acid loving compound, and my blueberry bush is looking amazing. So I'm going to attribute it to this brand, this Happy Frog brand. This is just a potting soil, so I'm just going to spread this out. So now all I'm gonna do is spread this out. This one bag is enough to cover more or less this bed, especially once I add in the other things like the compost and the worm castings. So I'm just trying to get this nice and spread evenly throughout the bed here, and then I'll lay down the compost, and then I'm gonna actually take my trowel and kind of mix it in and then go from there. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna be getting out is a bag of compost. This one is it's from Heirloom Soils of Texas. It is a premium blend of shale and compost. I'm gonna use my trowel here to break this open. And I'm gonna start spreading it out over the bed. Okay, so now all I'm doing is I'm going through my bed and just smoothing this layer of compost out over the top. And I'm gonna take a little bit and just fill each of these holes in here. Because like I said a few minutes ago, these beds are made out of cinder blocks, which is awesome because all of these little holes in the top are areas that can also be planted. So I'm going to spread out this compost, but I'm going to add a little bit to each of these, because one of the things that I also picked up at the garden center were some onion starts. It's the perfect time of year to start onions in Texas. And so I'm gonna once I get the soil all prepped, I'm gonna get those in to these little miniature beds, if you will. And they're kind of the perfect space for an onion, for garlic. Even in the spring, I'll probably do some smaller herbs in these. I'm really excited to have them. It kind of expands your growing space without really having much of a footprint. So it's pretty cool. So I've got all of my compost spread out here over my bed. I also have 2 bags of potting soil. The next thing I'm going to do is I have a bag of worm castings, so I'm going to get that in here. Then I'm going to water it all down to really help the all that nutrition kind of carry down deep into the rest of the bed. And then the next thing that we're going to do tomorrow, actually, I'm going to pick up some wood chips. We're going to cover it with lots of wood chips, make sure that it retains all that moisture and all the nutrition, because soil likes to be covered. Okay, the last thing I have here is my bag of worm castings. It's from a company called Wormganic, and it's just nice, really high quality worm castings. So I'm gonna break this open, and then we're gonna spread it out over the bed here. Again, just to try to really get some nutrition in the soil. And then I'll water this all in when I'm done. But it's amazing what about an hour's worth of work will do for a garden bed. And this stuff is just like black gold. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, again, do the same thing, add a little bit of worm castings to each of these because I'm gonna get those onions going. And I'm just spreading it out, sharing the love, if you will, across these beds. So I actually have these little onions here. I picked these up today at the garden center when I was there. And I've had them soaking in some water because they were looking a little bit rough, and I wanted to make sure that they had a nice good soak before I planted them all. I'm just gonna make sure that I got all of them out. Okay, I've got these little cinder block spaces, and I'm just gonna take my little onion starts and plant one in each of these spaces. All I'm doing is taking my little onion start and digging a little hole, and I'm sticking it in so just the green is showing, and then I move on to the next one. So it's a pretty simple process. Just dig a little hole, pick my sprout, stick them in there, and then, like I said, I'm gonna water them all in when I'm done. I'm gonna end up having 40 onions just from this kind of dead area, if you will, in these cinder blocks at the top here, which is kind of exciting. It's something that I hadn't really thought of. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to in doing this, number one, is learning how to garden here in Central Texas. I'm really looking forward to seeing like what types of varieties thrive here and learning, you know, what it's like to garden in this area. So, but the other thing that's cool is we're trying to figure out how we're gonna do our beds at our house. And now these are like not put together the best. I would probably put some like mortar in them and actually hold them together. These are literally just cinder blocks stacked up, but you could do that. And I think one of the things that's interesting is that, you know, we're talking about things that are going to last a long time. Steve and I are talking about maybe doing some cement that we pour ourselves or something like that. We're having wood beds because, you know, the reality is that I want something that's going to last a long time, and I don't want to have to be replacing garden beds when I'm 80 years old, right? So thinking about what's going to have the most longevity to it, and something like cinder blocks, you know, they're not the prettiest, but could we put them together and make them look nice in a way, maybe like putting something over it that could make them prettier looking? Because this is really cool to have this extra growing space that, you know, again, it would have normally just been dead space. The other thing that I like about them, and obviously if you're planting in them, you couldn't do this, but it is nice to be able to sit on the edges of this as I'm getting into the garden itself. So things to think about when we're, you know, looking at moving towards putting our own garden beds in at our property in the future and all of that. I'm gonna finish, I've got, I don't know, maybe 20 or so of these little onions left. So I'm just gonna actually fill the bed in here with them, and then we'll see what takes and what doesn't. I'm spacing them about 6 inches apart, and I'll do 3 rows right now. We'll see what we can get through. All right, so here's the bed with all the little onions. I ended up having enough to do 3 rows of 7 along the back there, and then I actually went along the entire perimeter of the bed here. So now the only thing I have left to do is water them in. I decided to use my watering can for this because the hose was just a little bit too heavy of a spray. So anyways, I'm gonna do this and then we'll call it a day. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you wanna see more content like this, if you wanna follow along with this garden through the rest of the spring and into next fall, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. That way you're always notified when I posted a video. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much for joining me.